Welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Ashley Little. A little bit about myself: corporate professional by day, entrepreneur by night, four-time best-selling author, owner and creator of Creative Broadcasting, and co-founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLP. Tonight we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Carlos Scott. A little bit about him. Carlos Scott is a veteran marketing and PR executive at VisionMarketingInc. Over the last 2 decades, he has represented Olympic gold medalists, Super Bowl champions, multi-platinum and Grammy Award-winning artists, Hollywood actors, and New York Times best-selling authors, and more. He's negotiated sponsorships with Procter & Gamble, Nike, Reebok, JLab, Audio, and more. He's secured clients, features in media like The Oprah Winfrey Show, Dr. Oz Show, Today Show, Ellen DeGeneres Show, The Tonight Show, Good Morning America, The View, Vanity Fair, Essence, People, and more. He also specializes in media crisis management and consults Fortune 500 companies and emerging brands. He is routinely contacted by CNN, CNBC, ESPN, and other national media to provide expert insight when star athletes, entertainers, and Fortune 500 companies endure PR mishaps. He is also a dedicated single father, raising his 13-year-old son who has autism. Welcome to the table, the amazing Carlos Scott.
I didn't know if that was me or not.
It is you. So I am humbled to have you at the table today to share some of your amazing wisdom and knowledge with my listeners. So could you please tell us more about your entrepreneur journey?
Yes. Unlike a lot of, I guess you would say, PR and marketing executives like myself, I actually used to be the talent before I became the talent. So that means from a standpoint of whether it's the athletic prowess, back in the day you couldn't have told me that I wasn't going to be the next Deion Sanders or Bo Jackson, two-sport athlete or whatever. And unfortunately, car accident my senior year in high school, and nearly lost my life. And a set of circumstances changed. I ended up rehabbing, going to the Air Force, and got an opportunity to extend my playing career. And while I was over in England, I actually started singing professionally as well. And I've opened up for, ironically, Mary J. Blige, who I just had the opportunity to go see last night, night before last. And R. Kelly, H-Town, other groups. And so all of that, and then I've been in films, with Denzel Washington, Beyonce, Cicely Tyson, Shamar Moore, Queen Latifah. So, like I said, I have a very unique kind of background that, unlike a lot of publicists who've never scored a touchdown, never sung in front of 20,000 people, have never been in a film or whatever, I actually bring that to the table. So I think like the talent, and I think that's actually helped us from a standpoint of knowing some of the issues. Like, for example, as an athlete, I know that you need to recover and you need to have time to rest. So I'm not going to schedule a client to do something at a time that I know that's going to be counterproductive to them being able to be their best, if that makes any sense. So
I love that. And I want to commend you for, like you said, you are the talent, right? And then you just took that and took it into the PR industry and has done amazing. So could you talk to us more about how you first got into it? I know you had a car accident and then you went into it. Can you talk a bit more about it and your experience in it?
Oh yeah, what happened was one of my best friends. At the time, he was playing pro baseball. He was starting for the Baltimore Orioles. His name is Delano Shields. and Delano got traded to Chicago. Well, what happened was he had actually started a record label, management, and a studio. And so I would record there, and he knew I was recording there, but for whatever reason, I guess he thought somebody else was doing the producing, and so it wasn't until one day he came and sat in on a session, and he saw that I was actually doing the producing, and so he asked me to join the company. I sat back and I thought about it, and I said, I don't know if I want to be just another hired hand. If I really want to make my next step really count. And so I decided that I was going to be more, I was more useful being A&R and developing talent, media coaching, and things of that nature, because to piggyback on what I said earlier, that's actually how I got out of the Air Force. I signed the deal to write songs, and I got out of the Air Force with the publishing check that they sent me. So because I had experience dealing with the labels, I knew how they wanted to cultivate artists. I knew what it took from that standpoint of view. That's what I wanted to bring. And so I started doing different events around the city here in Atlanta, and I became the guy known for always being with different athletes or entertainers. And so one day, a good friend of mine at V103 asked me to produce their celebrity basketball game. I decided that, okay, I would do it, and they promoted my company on their website. So then eventually I started getting athletes asking me to do like their parties, but I eventually took on Jerron Bolden, who was at the time starting defensive back for the Falcons. I took him on as my first NFL PR client, even though I was representing like Olympic gold medalists by that time. But he was my first NFL client. And one thing led to another, and here we go, 8 Olympic gold medalists later, 5 Super Bowl champions later. Here it is. So, but like I said, it's one of those journeys that I really feel like it's a full circle moment, because I remember being in high school and we won 4 state championships in a row. I was part of 3 of them, and wanting to one day possibly be in the Olympics. So for me to fast forward, watching the Olympics as a high school athlete and wanting to participate, and now having represented 8 different Olympic gold medalists, that is really like a full circle kind of moment. And but like I said, it started with that one client who was a track and field athlete as well, and we went to the Olympics and we came back with 3 medals. 2 of them were gold, 1 was silver. And so, like I said, God is actually my publicist. So people always ask me, well, how do you get clients? We really don't even solicit. Very rarely do we solicit for clients. Most of it is word of mouth, or people seeing what you do, or you might have an athlete that is a teammate or friend or recording artist who's a label mate, and they're not happy with what's going on with their brand, and so they reach out to us, and and I think that's the best way when you're hunted as opposed to being hunting, as opposed to honey versus the hunter. So, and it's worked, and it's been working.
Yes. So what would you give to that listener, because we probably have some publicists that are listening that are still building their brand and their clientele, and they're aspiring to, get these high-profile clients and trying to get to the next level in the industry, in the PR industry. What is some advice you would give to those people?
Oh, my gosh. I don't even know where to start, but I will start with this. A lot of people look at publicists and they see the glitz and glamours. Oh, you're at the Grammys. Oh, you're at this award show. You're at this whatever, but they don't see the long days and the wee hours of the night, and you got to start right back over. And there's no when you're enjoying the holidays like the 4th of July or Christmas or New Year's. Normally, that's when our clients are the busiest, performing or paid appearances or obligations to sponsors. So but one of the things I definitely advise all aspiring publishers to do is to become a sponge, learn, go to different panels, and then I'd also advise them to seek a mentor, somebody that's been at this level, at a higher level, that they can form a relationship with, and where it's truly like that person that they can call when they're having, issues, or whether sometimes it's not even just professional, and sometimes it's just personal development because you're trying to juggle. I know myself, perfect example. I'm now a single father, full time, and my hat goes off to every single mother, including mine, because having my son full time the last 2 years and juggling my schedule has been the biggest eye-opening experience, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I've had to lean on some of my mentors that are successful not only in their fields, but they're also great husbands. They're great fathers. They're great people in the community at their churches and whatever. So there's been times where I've had to kind of pull on their coattail and say, how do you balance it? What are some tips that you can give me that I can, use in how to not just about getting that next deal, because the deals are going to come, but how do I manage, if I got a wife or a girlfriend or whatever the case may be, in this case a father, how do I manage all of those things? And I think having a mentor and somebody who's been successful, they can tell you things, what they've done, but more importantly, things what not to do. And I think sometimes there've been several occasions where some of my mentors, for example, one of my mentors was the head of PR for Chick-fil-A for almost 29 years, and is a black man, and until he unfortunately passed away untimely due to a heart attack. And for a black man to be the head of PR for a conservative brand like Chick-fil-A, that says a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was he was also a dedicated father. He had several sons. He's a loyal husband. So he was active at his church. So there was a lot that he brought to the table. Same thing. One of my mentors on the marketing side was the head of marketing for McDonald's USA. So again, this is a black man. So he signed Venus and Serena Williams to their deal with McDonald's. He signed Destiny's Child to their deals with McDonald's. Back in the day, was it Dwight Howard, a couple other star athletes. I think LeBron James might have been one of his as well. So having someone that looks like you, walks like you, talks like you, and operating at the highest level, there's, the Golden Arches, that's one of the most recognizable brands. You don't even have to see the word McDonald's. You see those Golden Arches.
Right.
You automatically know that's McDonald's. And, so I've been blessed over the years to have some great mentors, and then there's some other ones as well. But they've been more helpful to me, not so much on trying to tweak up this deal but more just from a professional development. I think sometimes we focus so much on trying to get the next deal or get this deal, whatever, but there's a professional development side of it as well, where you have to work on yourself, and you have to work on, what we call the best common practices, and things of that nature, because you're trying to expand your brand so that you can expand your client's brand, because at the end of the day, as a PR marketing firm, we're only as valuable as the relationships and the platforms that we have to be able to put our clients on, if that makes any sense.
And I just love everything that you said, because, the relationship is the key, right? The relationship currency, especially if you want to go into your industry. I'm sure that's
right.
like one of the top keys, is building those relationships.
Without it, I can't do anything. I just got a call less than an hour ago, or email rather, from Today's Show about a client. So if I didn't have a relationship with them already, that email would have never came.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So, so, and on top of that, matter of fact, they said in the email, hey, my boss told me to reach out to you about this project. So, but it's been a 2-decade, journey to get to that point. When I started out, I had to do everything. And I didn't have assistants. I didn't have an office manager. I didn't have, a team. Because even though, we represent people, we still have a team, And so it's great. It's great to see, those relationships pay off for our clients, because at the end of the day, that's what they sign on dotted line and pay us for. So.
Absolutely. So tell us more about your company, Carlos, Vision Marketing Inc. Can you tell us more about it?
Sure. Yeah. Most people focus on they're either one or the other, PR or marketing. PR stands for public relations. And as I explained, I speak at a lot of colleges, universities, and panels and workshops. I basically tell people that the main difference is PR is about awareness, marketing is about revenue. Okay? So, now granted, sometimes there's some overage where, if I book somebody on Today's Show or Good Morning America to talk about a new book, even though that's a PR platform, what are people more than likely going to do? Buy the book.
They buy the book.
Even though that's a marketing thing. And so, but the reason why I decided years ago, me and my former business partner, to do both was because we found that some of the athletes, especially that we were working with, they might have had the laziest publicist, or vice versa. The marketing agent that they had was they were lazy. They didn't have the same kind of drive as we did. So sometimes it was a situation where we were doing all this PR and having them on all these different shows, and our clients weren't able to really monetize that to their best. And it was because sometimes the marketing side wasn't being handled by us, and so they would kind of fall asleep at the wheel, and then vice versa. There's been times where we were the marketing agent; they already had a publicist, and make a long story short, their PR firm sucked. And there's no other way to say about it. So it's hard for us to monetize a brand that's not being aggressively promoted, if that makes any sense. I'll give you a case study. Beyonce, remember when Beyonce signed that big deal with Pepsi?
Yes.
She took over that deal. Initially, it was Britney Spears was the spokesperson. Britney Spears went through, remember when she shaved her head and all that stuff? But when she shaved her head, that's when Pepsi finally said, you know what, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and you're gonna go ahead and pay Beyonce. But ironically, I was on a panel with her father, former manager, Matt Knowles at the time, and he said that deal took, like almost a year in the making, because this was Beyonce's first solo project. And Pepsi was like, well, everybody knows her from Destiny's Child, but, is she going to be the same as relevant as a solo artist? Now, granted, that didn't make any sense to anybody that got common sense, because when you think Destiny's Child, who do you think? Beyonce.
Right.
And then I think on top of that, too, I think it's also a negotiating tactic. At the end of the day, if they can get the most from you for the least, they're going to do it. And at the time, you got to think Britney Spears was still kind of high on the totem pole. So as Britney started going through those different changes and outbursts after she shaved her head and had the meltdown, I don't think it was 2 days later before Matt said that that Pepsi called him and like, okay, yeah, we're gonna. The other thing was he was not going to settle for what they paid Britney. I think they paid Britney like $8 million. He said he wasn't going to settle for less. He was going to take it the same, but not less. Well, they ended up signing Beyonce. I think it was for $10 million. So, but it took it took a variety of different things to happen for that to culminate. And so, but with Beyonce, if you notice, she's never just inside of a magazine. She's on the cover of magazines. And, for people that, that may not know the difference or how big that is, when you're on the cover of a magazine, those impressions are astronomical as opposed to just being buried inside on one page of a magazine. You feel me? And so because of those high impressions that she gets from her covers and TV shows and things of that nature, that helps her team to be able to go and negotiate the highest marketing dollars, whether it's Pepsi, T-Mobile, whoever it is. You feel me? So all of it coincides with one another. And so we've had great success both for our clients. And so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the other side, to answer your question as well, outside of just PR and marketing, we do media crisis management. And so sometimes when people might see me on like Good Morning America or CNN or MSNBC or whatever, that's when athletes, entertainers, or sometimes even brands. Remember when Starbucks, the manager called the police on the two black guys in Philly?
Yes.
Well, CNBC actually interviewed me about that. I got a call, I think, from USA Today and some other people. And, so our thing is to try to navigate those Fortune 500 companies, brands, athletes, whoever, navigate them through those crises so that they can still have equity in their brand. Perfect example today, I don't know if you guys heard, but the Lowe's, the executive vice president of Lowe's, they had a company-wide training video. Some companies, they'll have like tutorial videos that goes out company-wide for you training. Well, he said that a drill bit was perfect for Mexican day laborers with small hands, or something like Mexican workers with small hands. Now, exactly. Now he said it in a joking manner. I mean, granted, I understand this. In private, in jest, that might be, a good joke, but for a company-wide video that's going out to all your employees, some of which are probably of Mexican American heritage, you couldn't be more racially insensitive.
Right. Right.
And so, but what happens? A lot of these companies, they lack diversity, and they don't have, and what's really an embarrassment about Lowe's, their CEO is African American. Okay, so it's hard to say that Lowe's doesn't have diversity when their CEO is a black man. Another one of their senior executives is an African American as well, and then they have an Asian lady that's the head of their marketing. So you wouldn't. So diversity isn't necessarily lacking there at the company. That's that. You have an isolated incident where one individual pretty much decided to go rogue and just had a mental fart, because at the end of the day, we both know that is not. I don't see any way, especially in this climate that we're dealing with right now politically, where you could make a statement like that and feel like you're not going to get any backlash. So.
Right.
But anyway,
that was something to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So what we'll do, and the unfortunate part is, the work that we do for those Fortune 500 companies like that, because of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, we can't necessarily go into a lot of time, like what we did per se with them, for the obvious reason. But when you look at it, if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, it's more than worth it to cut a check for $50,000 to $100,000, if not more, to a media crisis manager to help you guys navigate through that. I mean, at the end of the day, what's $100,000 to a company that's worth $10 10, 20 billion. Nothing. You feel me?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what. So our thing is anything involved in branding our clients. Our kind of motto is we use the 4 F's. You got to be entertaining, engaging, enlightening, and empowering. In entertainment. Because at the end of the day, I don't care if you're an author, I don't care if you're an athlete, if you're a recording artist, you have to engage your fan base, your followers, now, like on social media, because if not, people aren't going to follow you, they're not going to pick up your album, they're not going to pick up because they're going to become bored with you. So you have to find ways to be, engaging, enlightening, entertaining, and then educate them about the thing that you want them to know, so that's very important. Like, for example, you're an author, a 4-time best-selling author. Well, that's just one small segment of what you do. I'm sure you're probably active in the community. You probably have some, some young girls that you mentor. You have, there's a litany of different things that you bring to the table that, when they say, what does Ashley stand for? What is, it's like, hey, I stand for these things. It's like a pie. There's different pieces to a pie. You can have the crust, but, the crust isn't anything, without the cream. But then before you put on the cream, you got to put in the filling before you get, so all of those different components that make up who you are.
So for all of our listeners that are listening, Carlos is giving some great nuggets out there free right now for everybody to, learn to continue to build their brand. So I hope everybody's taking notes. So Carlos, for that listener that's listening and that's thinking about, okay, I'm trying to figure out, should I hire a publicist and what's the process? So is there a process by which you help people discover their brand, or does it work best when people come to you with a sense of it already? So, or do you do a little bit of both? Do you help them discover it, or they need to come with something?
Well, it depends on. I'll tell you what. It depends on the client, and when I say depends on the client, most people know us from what I call the fancy stuff, the glitz and glamour, like the athletes and entertainers and whatever. But we also work with non-celebrities. We represent doctors, attorneys, authors such as yourself. And so even though they're not necessarily always deemed as celebrities, and then we also represent brands. So our thing is every client has their own set of DNA, so to speak. And so it's up for us to take that DNA and then find, what are the best components of their DNA, who they are, and to promote them to that audience. For example, like if you were a client, even though you're an African American woman, we're not going to pitch the same pitch to Essence about you that we would to Ebony or Black Enterprise, because those are 3 different demographics. Ebony is about the Black family as a whole. Essence is about Black women, and then Black Enterprise is about entrepreneurs and people in corporate America. So it's very important that as you're helping people to identify themselves or to help to identify their brand, that you always put forth what I call the best foot forward, and then what makes sense to the bottom line. And when I say the bottom line is, what is it? And I asked, ironically, and that's a very great question that you just asked, because we ask every client, every potential client, ultimately, what is it that you want us to do? What do you want to be known for? And I learned a very valuable lesson probably about early on in the game, probably about 12, 13 years ago, where we were having some success, and like I said, we've had clients on Oprah Winfrey, for crying out loud. So I'm not gonna let anybody tell me anything about PR until you done had a butt on the Oprah Winfrey couch.
Right.
So we signed this client, and we believed in their brand, and that's important too. For any aspiring publicist, please know, it's not about the money. Even though we don't do anything for free, it's not about the money. It's about you have a brand as well. So, and you have to, every time you send an email out, that's coming from your business account or whatever, and it represents you. But what happened was we were representing this client, and we were doing like some nice things, and she wanted to do this other busy stuff, and so she actually was kind of disappointed. And I'm thinking to myself, and my assistant at the time was like, you know, she's been kind of in a rut. I'm like, what do you mean? She's kind of mad. I'm like, we just had her on one of the biggest. We had her like in Black Enterprise. We had her in some other. I'm like, what did she? And you know what it was? She wanted to be at the movie premieres in Hollywood that our Hollywood actor clients were at, and I was, and she wanted to be at this and this and that and the third, and I'm like, wait a minute, but that doesn't fit your brand. I said, when you look at, I said, you're an author, and you're an author, and her brand was, was a very, very kind of segmented brand. On top of that, I'm like, what sense does it make for you to be on the red carpet next to Will Smith and Jada and Tom Cruise at a red carpet event when you're not at that level? I mean, it'd be different if, now here's the deal. I told her, I said, it'd be different if they took your book and made it into a blockbuster movie and then, whatever, that's a whole other story. But that's not your brand. But she was more concerned with being at these, on what I call on the scene, trying to be seen events, as opposed to, as opposed to, I'm booking her for paid speaking engagements at corporations and colleges and universities and conferences, but she's looking at some of our other clients, and we were representing some, a couple of female actresses at the time as well, and she was looking at the fun stuff they were doing. But I'm like, that's because, for one, she was in that movie, okay?
Right.
Okay, for starters. Second, even though she wasn't in the movie, she's been in like other movies and a hit TV show and this, that, and that. So it makes sense for her to be there. And so I learned a very valuable lesson at that point. I talked to my mentor at the time about it, and he said, well, did you ask her that? I said, you know what, I didn't. I said, man, now that you think about it, because what happens is we know the capabilities that we have. We know all the resources that we have. And so, and because we've been doing it, we pretty much know how to do this. But the thing that I tell everybody in this position, especially the ones that are aspiring, is don't assume. Always ask. Because the one thing or the things that you think that, or that that could make a difference in somebody's career, you might have a client that wants to do something total against the grain, and that they're, pardon my French, pissing in the wind. We're trying to do that, you know what I mean? Because it makes no sense whatsoever. So that's when you have to say, you know what? I thank you for the opportunity, and and considering us, but we're going to respectfully, we just think that you're better suited for another firm. Just based upon all the things that you want to do, and we just don't think this is an organic fit. And it's a difficult thing to kind of tell somebody sometimes, but I'd rather have that conversation on the front end than to be dealing with the headache of what we endure, because there's nothing worse than you out here busting your butt getting stuff done. It'd be different if we weren't, getting this woman paid gigs and money and and high profile interviews. But that wasn't what made her happy. She was more the vanity part in her. She wanted to be more famous than she wanted to be relevant. And I asked her, I said, do you want to be relevant or do you want to be famous? And granted, you can. Granted, there are some people that are both. You know what I mean? But somebody like President Barack Obama, he's famous and relevant. But
right.
But at the end of the day, too many people are chasing that fame. As I heard somebody say one time, fame is an addictive drug. Is just an addiction as much as any drug. And I believe it, because what happens is you get a lot of celebrities or former celebrities, and they get so accustomed to living in that limelight that when it's no longer there, the TV show gets canceled, movie get canceled, or if they're a star athlete, they're no longer in the league, that they're now willing to do and try anything just to become relevant. So they end up on some C-level reality TV show doing God knows what, God knows who, and so and that whatever. So, but yeah.
So, what are some pros and cons of hiring a publicist? We can get into that because there's some pros and there's some cons.
There is no con for hiring a publicist. No, I'm just messing.
Okay.
no, I'm just. I am totally. I mean, obviously, sure there probably are. The biggest con is that you got to pay us. Okay, let me go ahead and deal with that. That's the biggest con. Because some people think, you're supposed to put them on Good Morning America, The View, or whatever, for a gin-damn handshake. It's like, no, you got to pay me. So,
right.
But the biggest pro is, I don't care how talented you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how beautiful you are. I don't care how whatever you are. If you don't even know the security guard at today's show, much less the executive producer, but we do, or at Essence, or People Magazine, or whatever. So the biggest pro of hiring a publicist is we take out all of the guesswork and trying to get to know. We already know these people, so we're able to put you in our vehicle and expedite that process for you. And so that's the biggest thing, like I was telling you when we first got on, is that our biggest asset, to be perfectly honest, is it's not even just our database. The database is what a database is, the relationship with the people that we have in our database. Because, I mean, truth be told, my 13-year-old son can go on Google right now and find a hot email from some producers or magazine editors or whatever, and then you can, and anybody can do that and bug the hell out of people and not get any results. Because at the end of the day, like I tell people, I said, if you're the editor, if Ashley is the editor of Essence Magazine, okay, you know how many emails you're getting bombarded with, you and your team, every day, from people trying to be not only on the cover but featured in Essence. So what happens is, how do you think they decide who goes on the cover, who gets featured, and who doesn't get featured? It's about the relationship of the people who represent the talent that are being pitched. So if I've been doing this for 2 decades, and we've been, for example, we've been blessed 19 out of the last 20 years, we've booked clients to 18 of the last 19 years, we've booked clients to be on the Essence Festival, okay? Now, a lot of that has been with Coca-Cola, but we've also booked with Walmart, sometimes directly through Essence or whatever. But my point is, if I didn't have the relationship with Essence and those people, there's no way that I could continue to, like this past year, we had 5 clients at Essence Festival. So, it's about those relationships that you have with the people. And so if you have a great working relationship with people, at the end of the day, you've probably heard this phrase as many times as I have, and that is this: people like working with people that they like.
Yep, facts.
Okay? End of the day, people like working with people that they like. And what happens is, in this business where we're representing talent, it's a risk-reward situation. As long as the risk for dealing with whatever celebrity is outweighs, as long as the reward outweighs the risk, they're going to continue to book your client. Yeah, she might be a diva. Yeah, she might be whatever. He might be late, whatever. But because they're selling out every time they book him, because they're moving these men, whatever, they're going to continue. But the moment that the risk starts to outweigh the reward, He's no longer moving the same amount of tickets. He's no longer moving the same amount of magazines and no longer whatever. And guess what? Now they start, they don't now, especially with you being, the PR, they're going to start looking at you like, hey, we can't, Ashley, we can't, we're going to have to pass this time. Well, the last time, he set the stage on fire. Whatever, he can't, or he's, or whatever, he smacked an intern or whatever it may be. So, and it's like, now, like I say, people like working with people that they like. And so if you have a track record, if they know that when we book one of our clients, we're going to be there an hour to an hour and a half early. We're going to, if you need anything, we're going to get it to you. If you need whatever, we're going to be courteous to everybody from the security guard to the lady that's sweeping up the floors. We're going to be nice to everybody. People like dealing with people that are easy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment that the pendulum shift starts to change, and it's not that, then guess what? Those phone calls, emails, text messages, DM, you name it, they start to get replied to slower and slower to the point that they don't.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than have somebody on our roster that's dragging us down with them, oh, trust me, we've had our turn to send a mini cease and desist, matter of fact, we've even returned retainer checks. Hey, you know what? Don't even worry about. Oh, matter of fact, I'm returning that retainer check for this month. We're ending our agreement 2 months early.
Mm-hmm. So amazing that you were sharing.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because as long as I don't worship money. I worship God, and
mm-hmm.
the moment that you start worshiping money and the things that money can, whatever, you'll start doing, as they say, you'll start doing something strange for a piece of change, and I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I'm never going to do that. Anybody that we've ever signed. Now, granted, we've had some people we've been fooled a couple of times. We've had some people, they talk good to, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Oh, they talk, and then after we get them, and they total opposite of everything they sold us on what they were gonna do. We can't halfway get them on the phone. We can't halfway, they don't return. It's like, now let me get this right. I got an opportunity for you to go on The Real, a show that you told us during your meeting that you love and you want to go on, and you've taken 22 hours to return an email, text, or anything back about the opportunity. I got the question: how serious are you about taking your brand to the next level?
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that I was, and that really happened with a client. Begged us to, I want to be on The Real. Like, okay, and you know what happened? The Real was, remember when Tamar went through her thing and she finally got let go or whatever. Remember they were having a guest co-host.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I pitched the client to be on there as a guest co-host. Oh, they love the idea. I ended up having to fall on the sword, and people say, "What are you doing in situations like that?" Oh yeah, I'm gonna fall on the sword to protect her. So, oh, she family emergency, ill, whatever, because at the end of the day, you're trying to two things. You're still trying to protect the client, but at the same time, we're trying to maintain that relationship. And
right.
And I'm not going to embarrass myself by telling them, "Oh well, I wish she could do it, but she ain't returned our calls or emails in the last 26 hours." Huh? Right. Exactly. And because it was one of those situations where we had to get them an answer like kind of ASAP, because matter of fact, the fill-in host really did have an emergency, some kind of family emergency. So they were like, "Hey, is your client able?" They were going to fly her to LA, the whole nine. Couldn't get back with them, and so at about the 2-hour mark, I called my assistant and I said, "Hey, had you heard anything?" I said, "Hey, no problem, I'm on it." I said, I reached out to the executive producer and the talent booker, both of them, and told them that unfortunately she wasn't gonna be able to make it. You know, we apologize, but thank for, you know, whatever. And yeah, and at that point, I knew right then and there that was probably going to want to be one of my last emails ever corresponding with anybody about her being one of our clients.
Wow.
You know, because you just can't, you just can't have that type of, you just can't have those type of major drop-ups, and, you know, all because you mad at your boyfriend or whatever, boy toy or whatever, so you turned off your phone so that he couldn't reach you. But guess what? Can't nobody else reach you either. And I wish I was lying. I mean, you know, it's almost embarrassing, but you know, and that's exactly what happened. I'm like, huh? So okay, you couldn't have just blocked his phone number, and that's maybe that's just me, you know.
Yeah.
You know, being, you know, fast forward thinking. I'm thinking, you know, I think you could have just blocked his phone number, and that would have, you know, sufficed all that. But anyway, some other advice. What's some other things you would like to?
So for that person that's listening, because this is very great, some awesome nuggets that you're giving, and they're trying to take their brand to the next level. So what type of research should they be doing for their publicists that they aspire to have? Because
perfect.
It depends
well,
on
I tell you asked some great questions. You asked some great questions. That's a great question, and this is what I tell people. Social media is great, okay. Online or whatever, but if you're looking for a publicist to represent you and you know what you want to do with your brand, okay? If you can't go to their social media, their website, online searches or anything, before you even talk to them and find where they've done what you want them to do for you for anybody else, that's probably a good sign that they're not the publicist for you. Does that make any sense? You know.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, if you're a doctor, and you're like, you know what, I want to be on Dr. Oz, I want to be on the doctors, I want to be on CNN, I want to be on these different platforms, and you go to their social media page, and you don't see any pictures, nothing on their website, nothing where they've taken anybody, even if it's not a doctor, because you know we've had non-doctors on Dr. Oz and the doctor, and they don't have anybody that has ever graced those opportunities. That's probably because they don't have those relationships with those media platforms. You feel me? So that's that's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of people make, is that they'll sign with a publicist, but without what I call doing any real research, background. Hell, even ask for references sometimes. It's like, you know, and you know, sometimes that can be a little tricky because, you know, especially when you start talking about the celebrities that we represent. It's like, hey, I'm like, look, you know, first of all, we don't just give out our clients' phone numbers, okay? Now, but if you want me to get like a reference letter, I ain't got no problem telling so-and-so, hey, you want to write up a quick email? It can be a text message, whatever the case may be, and then and we can show that to you as a reference, you know, just to prove that, you know, hey, that you feel like we're in good standing or whatever. But even without going through all that, at least just do the simple stuff. Social media, website, look for press releases, anything that you see. And if you don't see the things that you have in your, because everybody has their kind of wish list of things. I'm sure you have a wish list of shows and magazines or whatever that you want to be featured in and stuff, right? And if you don't see any of those on the, you know, on that person's website or his social media or whatever, or doing a Google search or whatever, online or whatever, then there's a strong possibility that person doesn't have those relationships, because if they did, they would showcase it. You know, a lot of and the reason I said it is because a lot of the clients that we get is because they've seen the proof is in the pudding. So we don't have to do a whole lot of selling. When they see, I mean, so when they see me, live streaming backstage at Good Morning America or whatever, so they obviously, the proof is in the pudding. You see, so I don't, so, or they see that we signed an endorsement deal with a major company or whatever case may be for one of our clients. The proof is in the pudding. So, but that's the pros, and that's one of the biggest pros of social media, being able to promote some of the work that you do with your clients, so that people can go and see, okay, well, they had them at this award show. They had them, because if you never see that person that's trying to tell you that they're a publicist for so and so and this, that they're doing this, that, and third, but you never see them at any award shows, you never see them, posted, Instagram Live or Facebook Live from, at any of these, things that you deem important, then that's probably because they don't have those relationships. Now, there's a lot of people. You have to learn the difference between somebody taking a picture in passing with somebody they're a fan of, and them actually knowing that person.
Right.
Because people do that. Because I had a client, and that's exactly what happened. They hired a publicist because they were good at doing what I said earlier about that on the scene, trying to be seen. Oh, they were always at so and so and this, that, and third, whatever. But now I went to that person's website. I'm thinking, not to the website, because they didn't even have one, first and foremost. But I went to the social media, and I said, well, here's the thing that sticks out to me. Not one of these pictures do they have any clients with them. It's always just them and whoever, celebrity or whatever. And so that's a red flag to me. That's not a publicist. That's a groupie. So you basically hired a groupie to try to be your publicist.
This is good.
There's no. I'm just keeping it all the way 100. But so, because at some point they would say hey, our client, R&B artist, actor, whatever, here at the radio, because the one thing about it, even with myself, when we go to a lot of these award shows, the one thing you won't see, I'm not on the red carpet with our clients. At least not in the pictures anyway. Because it's not about me. It's about them. There's so many pictures matter of fact, there's so many pictures that I either didn't take, or even if we did take, I didn't even post. Because, hey, that's my friend. I don't need to, that's my friend.
Right.
I don't need to impress you. Sure, that's my friend. For one, I can call him if I need to talk. I don't have to impress the world that I know so and so and so. People hate name droppers, and I go,
right.
And my thing is, there's a difference between being a name dropper and and you actually having a relationship with them people. Name droppers typically don't have any relationship with the people that they are name dropping. And so, but anyway, something. What else you wanted to? Was there something else you wanted to?
So I wanted to ask you, because I asked all of my guests this question. I know you built multiple tables, right? Decades of tables. So how did you create your seat at the table?
Ooh, hard work. Did I say prayer?
You did. You did.
Hard work, prayer, and the biggest thing that I did, you got to be willing to bet on yourself, and you get not only bet on yourself, but you got to be willing to work just as hard for yourself as you are for any company out there. I don't care if it's IBM, Coca-Cola, whatever your day job is. You have to work just as hard. Matter of fact, as an entrepreneur, I work harder for myself than I have of any corporation I ever have. But I don't mind because I'm building up, my legacy. I'm building up our legacy and stuff. So, but at the end of the day, you have to be willing to work. You got to be willing to, and this is another one too. You got to be willing to learn. Even after 2 decades of being it, I still go to different conferences. I'm asked to speak on conferences, but guess what? I'll leave my panel that I just spoke on, and I'll go sit in on another panel that somebody else is in because I want to learn about the latest so-and-so, or I want to learn, what so-and-so, somebody else, one of my colleagues, what they might have to say about this. You always have to be learning. You can't never, I'm not a know-it-all. I know a lot, but I'm not a know-it-all. And you always have to be, because the industry is changing. I'll give you this one last kind of note to that. When I started off, you had to actually fax, not email, not call. You had to fax your pitch to The View, Today Show, Good Morning. You had to fax it in, okay? Provide, or you could even mail. Sometimes you could even mail a press kit or whatever a client, but typically, you would fax it in. You fax it in. Hopefully somebody gets it. Reads it, pass it on to whatever, and then more importantly, hopefully they actually call you back. So now, that's totally changed. Now, most people prefer email. Some people even use social media. I have a friend that works at CNN, and she's a producer, and I'm always joking with her. I say, all you do, do you even use email anymore? Because we follow each other, so sometimes I'll see her pitching somebody, hey, I work with CNN, can we have you on the show, whatever. But, you have to use what's available to you. Right? And then sometimes, and then she brought up something that, and again, it's always about learning. She brought up something, and I'm like, wow. She said, Carlos, now granted, everybody don't have a publicist like you. She said, some of these people are average, everyday people. They just so happen to witness a murder. They happen to witness whatever it is, the breaking news story. And so if it's just a single mom is on her way to church or working, or a dad or some teenager or college student, whatever, they ain't got no publicist. So once I see that they were interviewed or whatever, we then go, or the story went viral, then that's when I'll go to their Twitter. I'll try to find their, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever, social media that it seems like they are active on, and I pitch them. I hit them up, hey, can, DM me. And,
right.
So,
okay.
And so, but I learned something. She was like, hey, that's because you got to meet them where they are. And, she had one lady, she had witnessed, this car being carjacked and whatever, and she saw the police officer when they were able to, to track the guy down or whatever. She witnessed the whole thing. And so, matter of fact, she recorded it. And because she recorded it, the police actually used that in the prosecution as well to convict that guy because she was recording it. What it's called, Facebook Live. So, and that's how she ended up getting the lady. She hit her up on Facebook and, hey, I saw you, would you like to come on? So she had her come on and talked about, how just dumb luck. She just happened to be recording her son doing something stupid in the car, and in the background was the whole situation transpiring. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So that lady, that's just a,
Wow.
a single mom on the way home after work picking her kids up. She ain't got no publicist.
So what can we expect from you in the future? Because you're knocking it out. So what else can we expect from you the rest of this year that you can tell us, Carlos?
we got all kind of stuff going. We got TV shows our clients are going, like for example, last week, one of our clients had 2 shows on at the same time, competing against each other. E. Roger Mitchell is a veteran Hollywood actor. He's been in a lot of movies. He was guest starring on BET new series called The Tales. He played the preacher in that. And then he also, on the same night, he's had a kind of like a recurring role on Ambition on OWN. He plays a billionaire. And so anyway, they were competing at the same time. Our client, Chef Gennard, he's been on Food Network and Cooking Channel the last 10 years and has his own show on Clio called New Soul Kitchen. And so we have, stuff coming up with him. Matter of fact, he's the one, I'm going to tell y'all first so y'all see it first, or hear it first. He's the one that the Today Show called me about having him back on there because we've had him on there like 3 or 4 times. And so they want him to come on to promote like the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Falcons game. They're having him battle against some chef from Philly or whatever. So it's going to be cool. But then we have author client. We have a lot of stuff going on. Matter of fact, we're doing one of our newest clients is, and with you being a black woman, you probably be happy to hear this, but the National Coalition of 100 Black Women incorporated the national chapter. We just took them on as a client. And so we're preparing for their biennial conference here in Atlanta on October the 8th through the 13th. And so we got some great things going on with them. And so, like I said, it's all about diversity as well, and just pushing forward, trying to maintain our brand, build our brand, expand into some other things. And so, like I said, we have a lot on our table. And so, but I appreciate the opportunity to hopefully share some great nuggets and some great insight with your listeners, with you as well as your listeners. Because the one thing, the reason why I do a lot of panels and workshops is because I believe in sharing and planting seeds. Because what happens is too many people haven't had an opportunity to pick the brain of somebody like myself or to hear some actual insight about how this thing goes before they decide, okay, I want to be a publicist. And so even though you might have went to college, they teach you in theory, but that's a whole nother animal in theory versus, common practices, So, right?
And I just want to congratulate you on all the great things that you have going, all the successes. You're definitely very, very successful. And, for our listeners, you're welcome. For our listeners that are listening, he's definitely somebody to follow, somebody to connect with, somebody to learn from.
We're I'm very easy to find. Like on Facebook as well as Instagram, it's just my name, Carlos Scott. On Twitter, it's InVision Marketing. That's the letter N, Vision Marketing without the G on Twitter, and our website is InVisionMarketingInc.com. But yeah, so I'm on, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. I get a lot of inquiries on LinkedIn. That's just my name again, Carlos Scott. But I'm always about connecting with new people, and it doesn't matter whether or not what level they are. I'm not one of those people. I'm not an elitist. Sometimes some of the best relationships that I've ever formed with people that might have been new to the industry or might have been young per se, but they brought different dynamics to our relationship that I still was able to benefit and learn from. Because sometimes you can learn from millennials and the Gen Ys and the younger group from how they like to do things, and so that gives you kind of insight. Okay. Oh, so this is what the kids are looking at now. You see what I'm saying? So you it's always a benefit to learning from people and learning from people that aren't exactly who you are.
Yeah.
So cause we're not all,
So I was telling our listeners to make sure that they connect with you because you're definitely someone to know and someone to connect with. And I can't wait to invite you back to the table. So this has been amazing.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, I'm one of those people. I'm easy to reach. You know what I mean? I mean, you connected with me, so I'm, as long as I see it, and I'm, whatever. I don't have, because there was a period where I actually didn't have Instagram Messenger, and so when I finally did get it on my phone, I had messages like 3 years old. I'm like, good grief, but that's kind of funny. But yeah, I'm very accessible. I'm not almost too accessible, but I'm very accessible. But in this business, you have to be, because you're talking about the difference between 10 and 15 minutes can be the difference between your client having the biggest opportunity in their life, making $1 million, and not making $1 million. I promise you, I've had a client that had an opportunity to do a tour, make $1 million from that tour, but had I not been able to give them a solid answer within that 15, 30 minutes, because here's what they were calling other artists as well, and they basically said the first artist, they already had a kind of a second tier group of artists that they wanted to add, and they said the first artist that hit us back said they can do it, that's who we're gonna book. And so I was able to make our client the first one, and they did it, and that helped tremendously, to open up for one of the biggest stars on the planet, So, and like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to to listening more to you guys, and possibly coming back on and maybe even having some clients on. But thank you, and like I said, if you need anything, reach out. All right.
Thank you so much, Carlos, and I look forward to continuing to work with you and inviting you back to the table. Thank you.
Thank you. You keep that seat at the table. Keep a nice cloth on there too.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. So I would like to give a special thanks to Tammy Collins Marquis and John Schamberger. I would also like to give a special thanks to Author Kimberly McLemore and my intern Sarah from Tennessee State University. And you all may follow me on Facebook at Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.